Hello, this is Catherine Jerez. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and this is my channel, Psychic Brows, where we combine the worlds of psychic work and brow work and try to maneuver this world in a cohesive way. This week's series is titled Crossing Over, 7 Things I've Learned. Today's topic is enlightenment. So one of the things that I encounter a lot when I'm doing mediumship readings for people is their expectation of how a person will be when they connect with them after they've passed. There's some people have a belief system or process that they're surprised. So when I connect that an individual still has the same personality retention that they had before. And as we all know, personalities have, for most people, some positives and some opportunities would be a good way of saying it. And people are surprised when those less than desirable personalities are still part of an individual. And so that's what I kind of want to address today with this. And I call it dying doesn't equal instant enlightenment. When someone passes over, from what I've been shown in readings, they retain their personalities, some of their personalities of who they are. And that's actually how I'm able to connect with them when they reveal who they are to me. So when someone starts to reveal themselves to me, I go off of, whatever characteristics they start sharing with me, either verbally or showing me about themselves or about things connected to them. And sometimes these characteristics of who the person are can be nice for someone. Like they're like, oh, they always said things like that. Or that was that thing you're doing with your hands, Catherine. That's what they always did. That was their thing. And these are things to show people that this is who that I'm speaking with is legit. But sometimes when I connect with someone, people are surprised that they may be still struggling with things, or they may still have some less than ideal characteristics about themselves. So, honestly, instead of talking around, I'm just going to say it point blank. Sometimes people who are jerks on earth are jerks when they pass. I've encountered it. And it doesn't mean that they'll stay in that space forever, but for whatever reason, the moment that we're trying to connect with them, they're still in that space. So it's unfortunate because sometimes when people want to connect with someone who's passed, they have different motivations, and one of those motivations could be they want that person to say they are sorry to them. Sometimes people here on earth want to apologize or make sure somebody's not mad at them or upset or forgives them for something. But honestly, just as often, I have people that want to hear that from the person that passed. They want to hear from that person, I'm so sorry I treated you that way. I'm so sorry I didn't give you what you needed. I'm so sorry I was an alcoholic and a horrible spouse to you. And in all fairness, of course they want to hear things like that. But unfortunately, sometimes, depending at what point that person is at when they've crossed over, they may not be past that space yet. Because just because they died doesn't mean they're suddenly enlightened, doesn't mean there's some form of an angel or perfect. They still have to go through a delayering process to get through that. And that can show up in a lot of different ways when I connect with people. And they, sometimes I have people, another topic to explore more, but sometimes I have people that are in so much trauma, I can't even talk to them. And then other times there are people that are just kind of in a standstill, right? And then there are sometimes people that are so stuck that they haven't even left here. And that's actually not who I'm referring to right now. I want to refer to people who have actually crossed over, that aren't like stuck here on earth as what people would call a ghost. I'm talking about actual people that have crossed over, but they still are working through their life experiences from when they were here on earth. So that takes time, and time is weird. I don't know another way of saying it. Time is so weird when I'm trying to talk with people who've crossed over. I mean, I was going to say it's like it doesn't exist, but that's actually what it is. It doesn't exist. And that's a simplified way of saying something super complex. But what I can tell you is that's about as much as I personally can say on it, because it's about as much as I've been able to wrap my head around it so much this point so far for me. There's more to it than that. It's a simplified version, but the fact of it is just because you're on this time frame doesn't mean the person who's crossed over has. And sometimes that can be disappointing. I mean, I actually have a recollection of a reading where I told the person who had passed, because they were being a jerk. It was somebody who they weren't present in their life as a parent, and they still weren't taking ownership for that as an adult and as a past, adult who's died and passed over adult. And they were just making up a lot of excuses and being very difficult. And it wasn't doing anything for the person I was reading for. And I told them, I said, because actually at one point in the reading, oh my gosh, I just remembered this now. Actually, at one point in the reading, they weren't being 100% truthful with me. And I called them out on this, the person not being truthful being the person who had passed. And they had said in response to the person I was reading for, they didn't answer truthfully. And I called them out on it. And they yelled at me and said, "Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do me like that? Why do you have to do that? Just tell them what I said." And I said to them, and you have to understand this all goes on in the person I'm sitting in front of can't hear me unless I narrate it out loud. And I said, "I'm not going to lie for you. You're lying. Your guides are telling me you're lying." And they were like, so, and they were being very, I guess the best way I could say, immature about it. And so I said, look, if you are not going to give some care and consideration for this person who's kind of broken in front of me right now over this a little bit, then there's no point in this going on any further. And I'm not going to continue this conversation. And they got mad at me and tried to push me around, which I think is funny, because just like I say, we have free will, everyone does, including people who pass. I can't force someone who's passed to talk to me, but they also can't force me. I also have free will. And I was like, no, this is not productive, and you're not being honest, and I'm not going to continue this for you. And so, then we reached a form of agreement. But my point is that it's disappointing, but they weren't in a place yet to acknowledge or take responsibility or even just hear the pain of the person that was trying to connect with them. And sometimes that's surprising for people, because they don't understand that just because someone died doesn't mean they're now suddenly perfect. They have to get there, and it takes time, just like it takes time here. It's like when they say, it took time to, for fitness, they say it took time to gain weight. It takes time to lose it too. Neither one happens overnight, right? And the same goes for this. So when somebody passes, it doesn't mean that they won't get there. But sometimes they're still in a process and they're not there yet. And in all fairness, they deserve that time to get there too. So sometimes when people, and they're just, my guides are just telling me this right now. Know how I said I can't demand that somebody talk to me who's passed. I can't control that. One of the reasons is because one, they're not always in a space to talk with you for multiple reasons, or two, they're busy with other things too at times. They're not just at our beck and call. And then, so when I ask my guides right now, with that one person in specific that I'm thinking of, that reading example I gave you, they said it was because the person I was reading for actually did need to hear, hey, they're still in this space. This isn't for you to carry. And that in its own way was healing for them. But yes, sometimes when people come through, their personalities come through, and sometimes they're still grouchy, or sometimes they're still like crass, or not as like, but it's my mom. Why don't they just give me all this love I need right now? Why aren't they doing this for me? Well, because they're still who they are, and they're still getting there. So, it's not a journey that ends just because you crossed over. And like most things, it takes a little bit of time. So I hope that message finds you all well. I know you can't, I'm doing audios on this right now, but it does make me smile when I talk about it, because there's some fun things about that too. And the fact that, some of the reasons you love some of the people when they were on Earth was because sometimes for some of them, that's just, they're pragmatic or something. But when they've passed, you're like, I don't want to hear that pragmatic thing. I want my mommy to love me. I want my mommy to give me a hug and tell me that they're super proud of me or whatever it is. And it doesn't mean that those things don't exist. But remember, just because somebody passed doesn't mean they're instantly in that moment just the whatever words you want to say it, the grace of God, or super perfect or enlightened, or have harps going around them. Okay, like all things, it takes a little bit of time, and I say that with tongue in cheek because I don't know what that time thing is. Okay. All right, stay safe. Hi, thanks for watching. If you'd like more psychic or brow related content, be sure to comment and let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Take care.